Today we have You All Look the Same to Me by Archive, and well, look, it's a bit brave to open an album with such a long song because yeah, the first song in the album is incredibly long. I really like the build up of the song. I also sort of enjoy these more, what would you call it? Like this soft, I guess, minimalist, melancholic type songs, I guess. This is essentially, I like to describe this type of music as the comfort food when you're sad. You know, like if you're sad and sometimes you just eat that comfort food in order to like cheer you up. This is sort of like that type of music. It's not happy, right? Because it's not meant to be, but it's very like sort of melancholic. It's kind of like comforting type thing. The song then actually introduces sort of this bass and drums, and it actually sounds very like Pink Floyd at points. That's what I was reminding myself when I was hearing this song. And a lot of points in this album, especially on the longer songs, I really do feel that, I guess, Pink Floyd influence. So yeah, I really liked how the song progressed and added more onto it, opening itself up and essentially like sort of revealing itself slowly, building itself up, and then just going this full payoff for such a huge song. I mean, again, it's bold to open an album with a song like this, but I really liked it. And the thing is, this song just paints the rest of the album, right? This song just informs how the rest of the album is gonna go and what you're gonna be hearing. What we're gonna be hearing in the rest of the album. I know it's a stylistic choice, and this album does this a lot. But honestly, the slow fade in of the music and the whispering. It makes it really hard to hear for the first seconds of the songs, like the first 30 seconds, I guess, because it feels like a lot of the songs only start after the 30-second mark, because the first 30 seconds are just like slowly, going up in volume, and it just, to me, I didn't enjoy it that much. That was one of the aspects of the albums that I did not really enjoy all too much, because it's fine if it's a novelty, but when it happens in every single song, it becomes a little bit tiring. The song Numb actually has a really nice instrumental to sort of set this, ambient, this atmosphere. The distorted sounds with a constant drum periodically beating with the repeated numb makes the song feel very disorientated. Which is, I guess, part of the objective. Very interesting song overall. The song synths also transition very nicely to the next song, which is Mion. Interestingly, it's a change of pace entirely. It's a more relaxed, peaceful song. The peaceful nature does set up this build of it being ominous at points, so there is uncertainty if the song is going to evolve into a full-blown relaxed song or into a more threatening tone. This song is more vanilla, quote-unquote, rock, I guess, than the previous two, which used more, electronic sounds to make it more interesting. Not saying that the instruments take that away, but at this point they complement that interesting sounds that were established up until this point in the album, especially again with the first song, which is super long and does a very good job at just establishing the entire vibe and the entire atmosphere for the album. It's actually interesting that a lot of songs tend to start with only one sound and singing on top of it, and only then the rest of the instruments join. So usually even the shorter songs tend to have this sort of build-up process where you don't have all of the instruments right away. Usually it starts and it slowly establishes a certain mood for the instruments to then join. Personally, I did enjoy it, however, after a while, it actually stops catching you by surprise. Right, like Goodbye, the song Goodbye is a good example, where I thought, we had a bit of a different song here, and then it was like, nope, it's the same thing, right? It's still good, but it's like, it becomes kind of predictable when every song does that. Goodbye is actually, interestingly, what I would describe as probably the more vanilla song of the album, at least the one that still respects a lot of these songs on the sounds of the album, while not necessarily feeling very, I guess, artistic in a way, and feeling more like, I guess, mainstream or pop, more, digestible for listeners. Honestly, I find it hard that, it is preceded by two interludes, which it's understandable given that the second biggest song of the album is 15 minutes, so, interlude into 15 minutes. I get it. It's a bold strategy, it's a bold strategy to start an album with a 16-minute long song. You throw, 3 5-minute songs into the mix, and then 2 interludes back to back, which is usually not a thing that you see. Usually you see 1 interlude between songs to try and, give people a little bit of rest in the album. But then, no, this one just throws 2 interludes at you, and then a 15-minute song. Right, which is then followed by an 8-minute long song. So it's a very interesting time distribution rather than just having, interlude, 15-minute long song, interlude, 8-minute long song. I think that would be more the vanilla way of distributing things. So yeah, obviously Now and Then is a nice interlude, I think. It is, in my opinion, the better version of the intro that plays in the song Goodbye, which is the track prior to this. It's like this, seamless, atmospheric, ominous track, and it does connect the finding it hard or finding it so hard. I think personally, like, basically, this song, the second, God damn it, I'm losing myself, I'm sorry. The first interlude song, to me, is just a better fucking intro than the previous song Goodbye. The next interlude song, see, this is already causing problems with having 2 interlude songs back to back. The second interlude song is sort of this ominous type track that it serves as an intro for the next 15-minute track. Personally, I don't think it needed that. It's a 15-minute long track, you have plenty of time to establish whatever intro. I don't think that it's because you have an interlude before that the next song is going to be, or the next track is going to be more well established, when you could have just said, you know what, let's just eliminate this one and make the song 16 minutes or 17 minutes, like it's not an extra minute or 2 of establishing the atmosphere of the song that in my opinion is going to be necessarily that big of an issue. So the 2 interlude songs back to back are a bit kind of weird in that aspect. Finding It Hard, which is the 15-minute long song, starts with a very high rhythm compared to the rest. The singing, however, is the same, so don't worry, the songs don't change too much. Which, in the entire song, what I actually really enjoyed was the first transition. I think it was very interesting, it had very interesting sounds, and it helped then to make the transition from the second section to the third section, because you had the first section which established sort of like the song, the second section which was the transition, and then the third section was the essentially junction of the first section and the second section. I really like the second section. I really think that especially the sounds there really helped to make the third transition. And it allowed, especially the first section, to feel far more fused together rather with the rest of the song. And look, I don't want to be too mean, but I do think that the singing here, especially after the transition, kind of somewhat ruined the song. I understand that, this type of singing is very typical to the genre, but it does get annoying after a while, especially when, considering that the instrumental is actually really fun. So I honestly would legit just kind of want to listen to the instrumental on its own without the singing. I think that in other songs the singing is fine, but on this track I just kinda wish it was the instrumental alone, because I think that this album, sound-wise, instrumental-wise, is actually really strong. Not saying that the lyrics or the singing is always bad, but just saying that there were a lot more moments where I was like, I kind of just want to hear the interesting sounds rather than the singing with it. And then we have the song Fool, which has this sort of like Wild West style introduction to it. I mean, the entire song is kind of like that. The entire song sort of maintains that same vibe, that same registry, which is already different from the rest of the album, which is something that I wasn't expecting, because, with the song being... especially at this point in the album, I expected something to then switch, to have a transition, to introduce more interesting sounds, and but no, I mean, the song kind of does do that, but it doesn't do that too much. The song doesn't change too much from what it is, and honestly, it's kind of a nice change of pace. And then, we go pretty much to, I guess, the closing song, which is an acoustic song. It's usually happier than the song is happier than the rest of the album, which is usually more on the, I guess, again, melancholic, sad type thing. It didn't have any of the interesting sounds or anything like that, but it was actually a very interesting way of closing out the album. A nice uplifting song, just, full acoustic guitar and just singing. And the singing here is completely different from the rest of the album. Like, it's just a normal song for all, for all intents and purposes, which is actually really nice. Again, I find that very interesting way to, end and or close such an album like this. And to me, it was a very, very welcoming addition. Overall, this entire thing reminded me a lot of Low Roar. No clue what the style is called. I know I enjoy it, although it's not what I usually stick with. It's a nice experience, and I usually, especially when it comes to these genres, unless it's done in a very interesting way for you to have a nice experience with it, I just find it very unsatisfactory, because unless you are specifically trying to pull me in to try and make me understand, okay, what can we actually make you listen that is interesting, I'm not gonna give a shit. It's as simple as that. Personally, to me, the way I look at it, it's just that I think that sometimes people try so hard to stick to a genre that ultimately it makes it seem like you are just more wanting to stick to the rules, and as a result you're not making the songs actually interesting, you're not making the albums actually interesting, which is why I don't tend to hear a lot of stuff from the genre. Again, I've listened to Low Roar before. That's the only other type of music like this that I've heard before, because other than that, I have heard a couple of tracks here and there, I've heard a couple of albums here and there. For the most part, I didn't like them too much, because again, it feels to a certain degree that the artists are trying too hard to be quirky rather than just creating an interesting sound to their album. Overall, I think that as far as this album goes, yeah, look, the sounds were really interesting, it was an engaging experience, and I actually did enjoy the album quite a lot. Honestly, if I had to give it a score, I would probably go with a solid 8 out of 10, I guess. I ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would. Being completely honest, I did not know this band, I did not know, or artist, I don't know if it's a band or an artist, and I did not know any of the songs in the album or anything like that. I was a bit scared going into it, because again, album starts with a 15-minute long song, there's another 16-minute long song, there's an 8-minute long song right after that, there's 2 interludes in between. It was a bit scary, but I'm glad I gave it the time of day, and I'm really happy with the experience that I got out of it.